Okay, here we are, chapter 28 in our textbook, page 328. We are all the way to the Pual stem. And if you look at your textbook, you can see, wow, we're getting through this thing, aren't we?
Yes.
And in fact, we really are to the fun part of the course because we really don't have a whole lot to memorize from each of these chapters. We can concentrate on reading in our biblical text. And that's the fun part, isn't it? So we're learning Hebrew now in a way that's a little bit different than just memorizing stuff out of the textbook. We're learning it by experience through reading the text. And not only is that a funner way to learn it, but in some sense it's an effective way to learn it because you're having to draw on what you've learned and work your memory and learn it in the context of actually reading it. It is easy. With Hebrew, particularly, I think, to be looking at the grammar and begin to treat Hebrew as if it's a puzzle to be put together, isn't it? Right? But it's a language. In that sense, it's a living thing and something that people use to communicate. And it's good for us to remind ourselves of that. So looking at the text of the Old Testament, we were reminded that we're looking at a language, not some puzzle that we just have to try to decode, right? So here we look at the Pual stem of strong verbs. The introduction says, in this chapter we will study the Pual stem. And of course the term Pual gives you a big clue as to how at least the perfect tense is going to be formed, but it also gives you a big clue for all of them. It's the passive counterpart of the PL stem. So if the PL is intensive, this then is a passive of the intensive. If you look at the PL in a new way, that it is to cause a state, then this stem would be to be in a state.
Yeah, I was thinking, I have a question on this. One of our vocabulary words was shata, which is to slaughter.
Okay.
I think that was the word. Anyway, okay. But katal in the PL is to slaughter. But then there's the verb to slaughter. What would that be in the PL? Would it be to slaughter?
Well, if you're going with the intensive kind of idea, yeah, and it is kind of intensive anyway, to cause something or someone to be in a state of being slaughtered, right?
Right.
You're pointing out that there are a lot of words for to kill in Hebrew, so you can see that that's important to the culture, isn't it? There was a lot of battling and warring and plus animal sacrifice, so you have all of that. But there's synonyms in that language, just like our language. But if you want to speak with emphasis, you might use the PL.
So I have a word for to cause to go off. There's a sacrifice to go off the smoke or something.
It's kind of like the Alaskans have so many words for snow. We maybe have sleet, snow, freezing rain, and they have gobs of words for. I don't know. I guess they have words for light, fluffy snow, wet snow. We don't need them. All right. So the meaning of the Pual stem. The Pual stem is the passive counterpart of the PL stem. The Pual stem is used, therefore, to express an intensive type of action with a passive voice. For example, the PL perfect verb shaver means he smashed. Shavar is going to mean he broke. PL, he smashed. Or he caused something to be in a state of brokenness. And PL, shubar, would be translated he or it was smashed or was caused to be in a state of brokenness. Right? Notice how a form of the English verb to be was used to make the translation passive. All right. So Pual, we're going to have a typical vowel, a diagnostic vowel of a kibbutz. All right. So you can see for the perfect. Now see how it goes. Kutal, kutla, kutalta. Right. And so you can see in that little box the kibbutz, and again, dagesh in the second root letter. Like the PL has a dagesh in the second root letter. So the concern that we have is if the second root letter is weak, then you're not going to get a dogish there. So you're going to lose that. We'll see that. But it's not very hard to deal with. Now, in the pual stem, you're only going to have perfects form-wise, perfects, imperfects, and participles. What's a marker for the participle outside the cal and nifal stems? What do we see at the beginning of a participle outside of those stems?
It's the main with
the main.
The small.
Well, the main with whatever is going to be there, right? The main. Okay. Now, so you can see that how to tell a perfect form, and that's not hard. You can see how to tell an imperfect form under the first root letter, kibbutz. That's very distinctive, isn't it? So you have a shavah under the performative, a kibbutz under the first root letter, and a dogish in the second root letter. So the intensifying stems get that dogish in the second root letter, and you can remember it in that way. So the PL and the pual get the dogish in the second root letter. Now the participle has that main with the shavah, the kibbutz under the first root letter, and a dogish in the middle letter. So for all the forms, you get the kibbutz under the first root letter, dogish in the second root letter, and that's your diagnostic for the pual. Diagnostic for the participle is the main, and we know diagnostics for the imperfect, same sort of forms, yik, tol, tik, tol, etc., right? And we know the diagnostic for the perfect, blank, ta, t, etc., right? So you're having converging diagnostics here, right? Diagnostics for stems, diagnostics for tenses, and all of those happy things. All right. Notice the endings on the participles. Not all that challenging in terms of forms, and the weak verbs. The weak verbs are really not too challenging either. Page 339, one to kind of look out for is the word barak, to bless. And that shows up in the PL. When it shows up in the pual, you can see you have compensatory lengthening. So if you look on page 339, see that you have a holum after the bait. Why do you have that? Well, the middle root letter is weak, so it's not getting a dogish. You see that? It's a resh. It's not going to get a dogish. So the vowel under the first root letter, which would be a kibbutz, normally gets lengthened. Now, kibbutz is a what class vowel? O. So if an O class vowel, that's a short vowel, right? Kibbutz. What if a short O class vowel gets lengthened? It gets lengthened to a holum. So what you have is compensatory lengthening because there is no dogish in the middle root letter because it's weak. You'll see that as you read through these chapters. So do read through the chapters, get a little bit familiar with it, but it's not hard. You can pop back over to page 416. We have that dog-eared in our grammar, and you can see the pual stem as it relates to the others. And again, you can see if you have a kibbutz under the first root letter, dogish in the middle root letter, the second root letter, then you have a pual. And that's just a passive of the PL. Okay? See how fun this is? We're zipping through 2 chapters in a couple of minutes here. This compares very well to the beginning chapters of the book, doesn't it? Remember that? Now, what are those dots under those letters? It wasn't that long ago, right? When you were going, okay, what are these dots here? And how do you do this? And it's a what? Olive what? Remember? Then we were saying olive bake. Yeah, well, that was not that long ago, right? And now we're just translating the Old Testament. But see in a minute, honey, I got to translate a couple of verses of the Old Testament.
I don't know if I'd call it.
Well, you know. Cadence is a little slower, but you know, we're getting there, right? So that's a good thing. Any questions on the pual for the strong verbs or weak verbs?
I don't really have one on this, but I do have one. It was kind of pertaining a little bit to our translation. And the term apocryphated came up. I don't know. I looked in our grammar and I did not find much help.
Well, it's shortened form. It's a shortened form. And in what context did you see it?
In verse 15 of our translation, the last little clause or phrase said, it looked like the way it should be translated is, and he went to the city. But the way all the English versions have it translated is, she went to the city. And I looked on my Libronics and I checked it out and it said apocryphated ending. And I don't know what that means except for it sounds different.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to that part of the text. Remember to bring that up. Well, we'll talk about that anyway. That's a good question.
Because it told me to look at Justin. So, I mean, this, when I looked up apocryphate in here, it said, see Justin. And I went and I looked at the Justin. But okay.
All right, well, let's see what it says under adjusted then.
It's when you go to 18 and 12. Chapter 12.
We're going somewhere around page 206, chapter 18.
Okay. 18, 5 or something like that. Before.
18.14, adjusted. Let's see if I can find it very quickly. I may have just missed it. We'll look on page 219, number 6. The jussive may also be a shortened form of the imperfect. In this case, this is the case with third hey, geminate and biconsonantal verbal roots. When translating the jussive, you can use the same keywords let or may as with the cohortative. But this is but it's not adjusted. We're looking at in the text anyway.
No, it's not. But
the spelling's different, though. They put a comment under the. Where's it at? Yeah. Right, you under the yod, there's a here, there's a commentary.
There's a doggish in the yod too, which I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
All right. Well, let's get to it, and we will. We'll see if we want. Why don't you take your Hebrew Bible and we'll just get to our translating now. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to have you translate, and I will give you a grade based on your oral translation and your parsing that you do. So until I open it up for help, don't help the person who's translating, right? And I will consider that. Some of this stuff is more difficult than other stuff, and what you should know and shouldn't know. Is this perfectly fair and objective? No. So welcome to life. 20. Good job on the vocabulary, Colby.
Thank you.
Nice stuff.
Thank you. I had a little help from my friends. I think that's how the song goes.
Did you get behind?
Well, Sean's first on the list, so we begin with verse 14.
Okay.
And let's see how we can do with verse 14.
You want me to go just through the English?
Well, why don't you pronounce it, and then
Okay.
let me see. Why don't you pronounce up to the Atnach?
Okay. Vatash.
Tish.
Vatishkav.
Good.
Mergotav. Al-Habakor.
Odd.
Abakor.
Mm-hmm. Odd Haboker. Can you see that?
Takum. Haboker. Yeah. Boker. Vaticum. Okay.
Now, can you see where the accent is on that word? What you just pronounced?
Okay. Vaticum. No. Vaticum. I guess.
Vatakam.
Vaticum. The accent goes over the tape there, the top.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Those funny squiggles that aren't vowel points, right, are the accents, and there are various different kinds of accents. Go ahead.
Okay. But Terravim.
Okay, now, you can't really pronounce that, can you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see how that's not very pronounceable?
Right.
Got that little circle over it? Kativ Kare. Over the left margin, see that Kof?
Batram.
So you look up, and so we're leaving off the Vav there, so it's going to be Baterim.
Yakir. Yish. Et. Re'ehu. So, and she lied, and she lay down at the place of his feet until the morning, and she stood up before. And this was a word to try to translate. I'm going to say she was a stranger, something like that. It was an odd one because of the things that misconstrue or something like that. But I like the stranger. In other words, she stood up before he knew. She stood up before she was a stranger.
Okay, well, this is a little bit confusing. What do you do with the rest of it?
The man shouted, and he said...
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Now, where'd you get shouted?
Re'ehu.
Re'ehu. What is that?
To shout. Re'ehu.
Well, I might beg a difference. Let's look up, first of all, let's look up that Re'ehu word. So, Reish.
Will you start tools now?
Yeah. Reish, Ayin. Hey. Now, there are all kinds of words spelled Reish, Ayin, Hey that are different. So we have here the possibility of a verb that means to graze or pasture or shepherd, or a verb that means to have dealings with, or even a noun that means evil or harm, wickedness, or another noun that means friend or fellow. We even have a noun that means companion. I'm on page 342 of Holiday. BDB, Reish, Ayin, Hey. So we have similar spellings, but with the tsere, I'm matching best to
he meant well would be my other guess. But then you got the who to him and meant well.
Now
Him.
the thing that speaks well of you is that you didn't check your English translation, did you?
No.
So you're doing this all on your own, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But after you're finished doing it all on your own, you should check the English translation to make sure you're in sync, right? But you might disagree with the English translation and be able to explain why you disagree with the English translation.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying at your stage you should necessarily preach that, you know. But if you can come into class saying, "Hey, well, the English said this, but I think for this reason it's really this," then that flies, right? Looking for our verse.
On UDB, it has our verse.
Okay, what does it say in BDB about that?
It translates it another man over it. It gives some phraseology. Fellow citizen, even another person.
Okay, what word is it? How's it spelled? Okay, what vowel points?
And then it goes down. If you go further down, it's just Resh Ayin with the Sarah and the Patah. I think the Strong's number is 7453. 7453.
I wonder why this holiday isn't listed.
Where are you at?
946.
Kind of in the middle,
The first column.
first column.
I see it. Thanks. Okay.
You saw our verse? Actually, you saw our verse? Yeah.
It says a given man over against this fellow.
Well, if you look all the way up to the top, where it says number 2, that's kind of where it gives its definition.
Fellow closest another person. So a fellow man said?
Fellow citizen, even another person.
So going back to here, a fellow a male community member, fellow,
Or I think you could even translate it companion, possibly.
It's strange because before it was kinsman redeemer. Here it's more of a distant. It's not a very.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, that's right. Well, but you'll see where we're going.
Although right above it, various derivations are paramours, and husband, lover, friend, and intimate. The first one on there is okay.
All right, let's hold that in our minds and then back up to the verb.
Okay.
Okay, so you have her, and she laid down at his feet until the morning, and she rose up. Kum, that's the word kum, right? And she rose up before. Now we have Yakir. All right.
Okay. And I said she was a stranger before she was a stranger, before she misconstrued, which is probably before she was misconstruing.
Well, not quite. There's another meaning for that.
Before she was a stranger, before she. Okay.
Look up Nakar, because that's what it's from, right?
648B. Section 1. Wait, no, Section 2. Sorry. 648B, Section 2.
Okay. Now let's let me have you work on parsing. Well, this is not really a fair one to parse because we haven't had this yet. But
Is this one a hippo?
it's a hifil. That's right, because I have the A-class vowel under the performative, right, a patak under the conformative, the preformative. The noon is assimilated into the kaf, right? So then I have my hirik yod between the second and third root letters here. So this is a hifil. So look at nakar under hifil, and what does it mean? Well, in holiday I get to investigate. Second meaning to recognize, and that's what we have here.
Regard, observe, the two recognize, and before man could recognize this fellow, before she was a stranger, before she could be recognized.
Yeah, so the stranger idea is not directly, stranger and recognize, that those concepts are kind of, related, but that the stranger idea is not here, even though we've had the concept of the stranger, her being a stranger before, so I understand why you want to go there. But here, take all this and see if you can put it together. And she rose up before Ish. Now, what part of the sentence do you think Ish is?
Ish. Before the man. No, I have it separate.
So you're making Ish the subject, and you're right. Now, it doesn't have a definite article on it. It's just a man. Before.
Well, before he recognized her. Before the man recognized her.
No. Well, you're getting there. Before a man. Now, what's the direct object? Et re'ehu. What did we say that was?
I forgot.
Another person?
Yeah, a fellow or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Fellow citizen?
Before her fellow man recognized her.
That's the idea. Anybody help him out?
I think the man there, the ish is a generic.
There you go. Before a man recognizes.
I got it. Before it looked bad.
Huh?
Before it looked bad, right? Before she was laying down with this guy, and we were saying all along it was, the shout.
Real forward.
Yeah. She wanted to be modest.
Exactly. So she gets up before it's light enough for a man to recognize his companion. So it's still dark enough so that if I look at you, I don't recognize you. Even though I know you, I can't see that it's you. It's so dark still. So the sun's probably just barely casting a glimmer over the horizon.
Although you might be able to tell the difference between me and Sean.
I got a story. When I was in the military, we had to get up and do firewatch. Firewatch, with the infantry, so you get up and you have to wake the next buddy up. And it's really dark, and you can't see one person from the next. You just got to know where, and you get maybe just a few hours sleep, and there's like 5 guys. Well, one of the guys went to wake up his buddy, and before he woke up his buddy, this is a happy story. They were also apparently indulging in marijuana on their fire watch, and they couldn't determine one silhouette from the other. And what they were doing was passing this pipe along in the other person's boots, and they put it in the sergeant's boots because they didn't recognize his silhouette as someone else's. So, anyway,
So they got caught?
they got caught.
Let that be a lesson to you, Colby.
That's right.
Because they got
Don't
out
go in the
of
military. Don't pass pot to my superiors. Don't make decisions when I can't tell who's there. I'm wondering what the lesson is. Maybe it's all of them. Maybe there's a more spiritual meaning.
All of the above.
Is it allegory?
Okay, so she laid down at his feet until morning and rose up before a man recognizes his companion.
Before man recognizes his companion.
And you're right. She's trying to be discreet, so that people don't start talking the next day. Ooh, did you see how Ruth got up, from sleeping with Boaz or sleeping at the feet of Boaz? All right. Why don't you continue on there, Sean?
A question is the place of speak idiom. In other words, because shikav is to lie down with or to have sexual intercourse, but then they say every time it's mentioned, I think maybe this. Don't they always say the place of speak? I'm wondering now.
Well,
they speak so much as that's the point was.
Well, we're not literally getting the place of his feet here. Now, we did that before. Now we're just getting the word his feet with the preposition affixed to the front of it, min. So she laid down from his feet. Now that is idiomatic because in English we would say she laid down at his feet, and we might expect a bait or something, or even a lamed before we would expect a min. Min almost seems the opposite, from his feet. But that seems to be idiomatic, and that's what we're getting. So in English we'd say she laid down at his feet.
Okay, and if he said...
No, pronounce it for us first, and then we can...
Oh, yes. Vayomer, all Yehuda, he... Now,
when you have that vav there, and it's got a dogish in it, I can see how this could be confusing, but that's not a shurik. How do you know that's not a shurik?
I don't know it's not a shurik. Because there's a vowel point.
There you go. Okay, try that one again.
Okay. Yevada.
Okay, good.
There's an accent mark with it.
Yevada. So the accent's going to be on the left syllable. Yevada.
He. Ba'isha. Hagoran.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. And he said, then that's one of those all negative things.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Yadad to know, it's a nifil. So it's,
all right, I'm going to ask you to parse that, so go ahead and parse it.
It's a nifil 3M-E.
3M.
Oh, it should be 3MS.
Okay.
And to know, but
it'll help you if you pronounce that correctly. Nifal.
Nifal.
Okay, because that's going to help you recognize vowel points. But yes, it's a nifal. Okay, start again.
It's a nifal 3MS from yada to know, but it means here.
Okay, what's the tense?
Let it not be known. It is. It's let it not be known. Imperfect.
Okay, it's an imperfect looking form, but when you have all with it and the way you're translating it, there's another option.
And you, Joseph, don't.
Yeah, there you go, Joseph. Right. Okay, excellent. All right, and so how would you translate that?
And do not let it be known.
Excellent.
That the man went to the...
The man?
Yeah, the man.
Isha.
Oh, the woman.
Okay.
The woman went to the threshing floor.
Okay,
That's how Ron is the threshing floor. It's a lot harder in class.
Well, you know something? It is a lot harder in class.
I thought I had it pretty good, too.
Yeah, it is a lot harder when you get put on the spot. And you might have done it a lot better just on paper, right? Because you're not so put on the spot. But that's precisely why we do it this way, right? So you can learn to, do the hard thing of thinking about Hebrew stuff under fire, right? Because I assume that for most of the people taking Hebrew, they're doing so because it helps them in their role as a teacher. So you're probably standing in front of people. Well, that's not true of everybody, but you're probably standing in front of everybody. And if at some point you want to say, that Hebrew word is shalom, it's easy to freeze up in front of a Sunday school class. Even with something as simple as that, right? But have you been parsing Hebrew words, and I hope you don't do a lot of parsing Hebrew words in front of a Sunday school class, but if you've been parsing Hebrew words in Hebrew and blah 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 blah. you'll find it easy to talk about Hebrew things with other people. And there's one thing. It's one thing to be able to think Hebrew and to translate Hebrew. It's a completely different thing to be able to do that in front of people and communicate to people. And it's obvious that when you're teaching Hebrew, you face the same thing. As well as I think I have it down at home when I'm looking at it. If you don't have the skill of being able to get in front of people and use both parts of your brain, whatever that is, and do that, then I knew this. I'm freezing. I remember not too long ago I went to write the Hebrew alphabet on the board in Sunday school for the people, and I froze for a second on the Hebrew alphabet. Oh yeah. So what am I doing? So when you get in front of people and your mind's tracking in a different way, you do that. So that's part of the design in my mind, so that we do this in a way that allows us to develop multiple simultaneous talents, I suppose. but I do understand that it is not a natural thing. We do unnatural things in seminary, right? And so it's a skill we're developing. But you did well. That's good. And I like how you parse that verb. Let me ask you though, for the sake of learning, back on that nifal verb. How do we know it's a nifal?
You gave away the Eric and the comments.
Okay, comments under the first root letter. Okay, and what is the first root letter? Here it's a vav, but what is it in the vocabulary word?
Yod.
A yod. And this is that case where the yod literally lengthens into a vav right there, which is just kind of odd, but it happens, right? So we have the comments under the first root letter, and what else is an indication of nifal?
The Hirik. Under.
Well, the Hirik is part of it, but there's something even more diagnostic than that.
I'm missing it.
Anybody helping? No. The dagesh in the first root letter, because that represents the noon. The noon is there, and the dagesh in the first. So the noon of the nifal is there, and that dagesh in the vav. Right. So that dagesh. Now you do in that form. You do have the Hirik comments pattern. So that's right. That comments and that dagesh are the most consistent characteristics to look for of the nifal. Okay. Now, sometimes you don't get that dagesh because the letter is weak, right? So it can't take a dagesh. But here,
then you get compensatory lengthening, right?
Pardon?
You get the compensatory lengthening.
You can do that, yes. That's more in the PL, though. All right, very nice. All right, Kim's next. Let's see Kim on verse 15.
You want me to pronounce the whole thing and then translate? Okay.
Yeah, well, you can either do it up to the Atnak or you can do the whole thing at once, however you want to do it.
Okay. Vayomer Havi Hamit Ahat Asher Aleka Va'achazi Vatohez Va'omad Shesh.
Try that last word again. What?
Oh, Vayamad.
Okay.
Shesh. Sa'orim. Va'oshet. Oshet.
Vaya. Again.
Oh, yeah. Vayashem. Alei. Ha. Vayalo. Ha'ir.
Okay, excellent.
And he said, give me the cloak which is upon you, and grasp or take hold of it. And she grasped it.
Okay, stop there for a second. Now you said, and he said, give me. Where'd you get the me?
that E?
That's what I thought. Now, how would you parse this?
Well, it comes from, isn't it Yahav,
Okay.
to give.
Okay.
But it's imperfect. Oh, it's an imperative.
Okay, so how's an
Right.
imperative? Yeah,
So
that's
I
right.
guess the E is the imperative
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Tick
not-
to Lee.
Right.
Right? Now, is that a bad translation? Give me? No. That's implied. I just wondered where you got it. You didn't get it from the E because that's part of the imperative form, right? So you could say, give me, but that's not actually what it says. Bear with me just for a moment. Okay. Go ahead then. So, well, just give me a good parsing of that then.
So that would be Cal perfect 3MS imperative.
Well, perfect and imperative go in the same slot, so you got to choose between them.
So Cal imperative.
Okay.
Or it's 3FX.
Yeah, well, you do. See, this is that whole thing, right?
Just go through the whole.
Okay, so it's a cal imperative. Okay, now think about the issue of imperative when it comes to number.
Oh, it'd be 2. Second. 2FX?
FS, yeah, because he's talking to her.
You find
Right. Yictol, tictol, yictol, tictol, tictol, tictoli. So that E is going to be the 2FS imperative ending. Right?
Gotcha.
What was the fruit verb? Ahaz?
Yahav.
With the yod? Okay.
Let's just take a look.
Yeah,
Here.
I'm trying to catch it.
Does Einspar give that word? Because I'm not sure it's Yahav.
Yahav, give.
Huh?
Yod, Hey, page 396.
That was the one we just parsed.
Isn't that what he was asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
Because I'm not having that in holiday right here. Yahav. And I know I looked at that earlier, and I am now not remembering what the vocabulary form was of this thing.
Okay.
So, do you find it in BDB?
Well, it says 396, but I'm trying to get the right. Looks like it might be 396D, bottom of the page there.
It says 315 give over the cow. On this rendering Yahav.
I see it.
It's got the dagger.
Yod, Hey, Vav, Bait, you're saying.
Yeah, unless I forgot what the letters are called.
Yeah.
the comic spot top? Right. Right up here. You'll see the roof. Right there, roof. You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, show me. I should have my DDB with me.
We need to know your briefcase.
I know.
There's the roof, 315.
Yeah. All right. Well. Look here. That's all I'm getting here. I didn't think so, but I can sure see it right here. I wonder if they're taking the thing from something else.
So you hear it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I see it. Boy, what a...
Is it Todd? Hollywood.
Good job, Kim.
Hang on, hold on.
Really?
Oh, you can get it.
Well, it's not that unthinkable that two lexica would take it as being from different things. I'm not seeing that either. Oh, well, we'll figure this out in another moment. All right, very good. Carry on then. You got part of the way through that.
So he asked for a clove,
Okay.
and she takes hold of it. Vayomad is, he measured 6 barleys.
Yeah, that's literally what it is.
So 6 bundles of barley, or...
Well, this is already threshed out probably, so it's just the grain, right? So, I think the New American Standard says 6 measures of, he measured 6 measures of barley, 6, whatever, you know,
Right.
6 barley measures apparently.
Okay, so he measured 6 measures of barley, and he placed upon her, and he placed them upon her.
Okay, yeah, implied.
And now this was the one where it looks masculine, but the English says it's feminine. So it looks like, and he went to the town, or to the city.
That's right, and we've seen this several times in the book of Ruth, where you would expect a feminine form and you get a masculine form instead. But it's a little bit up in the air in my mind. Is it she went to town or he went to town? Yeah, either one makes sense, I think.
Because he's the one that's about to go to the CPA anyway.
Yeah, I do think that makes perfect sense. But we have seen, and I couldn't point to it right off the top of my head, but it'd be easy to find if I had my computer here. We have seen several times when you would expect a feminine form, and we've seen a masculine form in the book of Ruth. And I pointed it out as we went through. Do you remember it? Do you remember me pointing those out?
I remember at least once.
Yeah, but it's been more than once that we've seen that happen. So, and that's why they're going with this here. But I don't see why it doesn't make sense. And he went into the city. Now, verse 16 is probably why they say she went into the city. But I don't think it is contradictory to say he went into the city and then she,
Makes sense.
whatever. You know, so yeah.
Is the spelling have any clue to it? Say there's a dogish in the yod, but then a comments underneath it that would say that the dogish means that there probably was a letter there, which could have been the...
Well, that's because of the reversing vav or vav conversive, or however you want to say it. It'd be interesting to know what the Bronics or whatever your
He's got it right there in front of him.
It would be interesting to know what your computer program calls that reversing valve or the valve conversive.
Conversing.
Because we looked at it.
Because my computer calls it something completely different. It doesn't even call it an imperfect with a valve conversive. It just calls it I can't remember now. It's just one term.
Go to VHS there.
I think in LeBron it's valve consecutive. Sometimes they refer to it as.
Okay. I mean, it's just a different name for the same thing, right? So it's just.
But that's.
It's in parts of it.
Yeah, but that's the one that had a pocket faded in.
Now, and that's another point. It's a pocket fader. What does that mean? Well, vo. Well, what's it from? It's from bow. You don't have three roots, so it's shortened.
Okay.
Okay, very good. 16. Tim is next for verse 16.
ותבוא אל חמותה ותאמר מיד מתי ותגד לעת כאשר עשה לה חיל ותבוא, and she came or and she went to her mother-in-law.
Right, now, in this form, see how you have that whole involved right there? That could be what they're referring to in the last form, in terms of being apocryphated as well. You see what I mean? In other words, got a defective spelling. Okay, go ahead, Tim.
And she went to her mother-in-law and she said, is that you, my daughter, or who are you, my daughter?
Yeah, and that's obviously idiomatic too.
Yeah.
Who are you, my daughter? I mean, she could be just calling any woman my daughter, but probably she recognizes her, and probably it's an idiom for like "what up" or something like that, right? What happened? Yeah. What happened? And you'll see the English translations do it that way. What happened? All right.
And she told her all that the man Asa had made or to do, Asa's to do, for all that the man had done for her.
Okay, very good. Now let's do a little bit of parsing.
I don't like it.
I know it. Right after the Atnach, Vataged. First of all, what's that from?
I forgot. As soon as she said, she told him.
Okay.
But I forgot the root word.
Anybody help him? Nagad. That's right.
That's your report.
Okay.
Tell, say, report.
Okay.
Oh, say, yeah. So we have a reversing law and a feminine preformative. And the root word.
Holiday is on 226.
Yeah.
Well,
Don, do you know what stem it is? This is a little bit unfair to ask you this word because it's of a stem that we haven't had yet. But. Hiffield.
Because of the vowel points?
Yeah, because of the potok under the performative. All right, so here we have a hiffiel, imperfect with vowel conversive. 3 FS from nagad to report.
Or just, not really, you couldn't say to say.
No.
Very good.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different than just to say. You know, it's not as typical as the word to say.
But it is 3 FS.
To speak out, to report, announce, to put forward, to tell. To tell is pretty good here. He told her.
Yeah.
It is
but it's
3
FS.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's a hip.
And you don't have all the root letters showing there. You have the noon is assimilated into that dogish and the gimel right there. Okay, but let's have you parse asa toward the end of the line right there.
Asa.
Don't make it too hard.
Well, it's a cow.
Kel.
And it's already been done. So it's perfect.
Perfect. What's it from?
Asa.
So that gives you a hint, right? Cal, perfect. Wait a minute. Who did the doing?
He did.
So.
Masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Singular.
Mm-hmm.
One MS. Or would be second, 2 MS.
You. 1 is I. 2 is you.
3 is he.
3 is he.
3 MS.
All right.
Cow, perfect, 3 MS.
So this is a dictionary form, right?
Right.
So it's got to be Cal Perfect 3 MS. This is a dictionary form, right? Okay. Well, look at we're cruising right along here. All right. Good work.
October, Shesh, Hasorim, Ha'ela, Ton, Li, or is the Hirikyo, is it A, like, or how is that usually pronounced? Because I've heard it lots of different ways. Like on the key. Is it
Key.
Key, so Li key.
That's right. Li key.
Amar, or Amar, funny symbols.
Well, what's happening there?
Well, it's one of those things.
Well, what you have is vowel points and accents with no consonants.
Yeah.
So you know something. You know that the original text, or the text that was original to them, didn't have a word there. But they put all of the points and everything, all of the stuff that should go with a word that they think should be there. Now they don't just put the word in because they have too much respect for the text. They just throw the word in. But they put everything that would surround those consonants there as if they were there to tell you, hey, we think this word ought to be there. And that little circle right there, see that little circle?
Yeah, that's telling you to go look.
Go look to the right. Look all the way to the right. And the very first word you see on the very right-hand part of that margin, A fits those. A lie anyway, right? So that would mean to me, right?
Okay, so Eli, all, Voi, Gracom, El, Tamor, Take. Right?
Hamotake. I'm sorry, hamotake.
Tamor, Okay. So, back to the top.
Okay.
And she said, these 6 barley measures, he gave to me for, he said to me, do not go, or you are not to go empty-handed to, or emptily, you are not to go emptily to your mother-in-law.
Okay, excellent. All right, very good. All right, well, let us have you parse tavoi.
Tavo. Okay. I believe it is an imperative. Wait, let me check myself first.
Okay, back up a word.
Take the lead.
Back up a word.
Yeah.
What word? Where you at?
We're on the second line, first word of page 1324.
Okay.
It's 2FS. Got that.
It's 2FS.
Take the lead.
Okay, very good. Now, if it were imperative, it couldn't have that performative, but it does. So it takes the form of the imperative. But is it?
No.
You've been around me too long. So it is what? The word before it gives you the clue.
Yeah. I want to say it's a participle.
No?
Or adjective verb.
Yeah, there you go.
Adjective. I still get all those mixed up.
Yeah. Okay, jussive, right? What is a jussive?
It's kind of like a command.
That's right. It's a form of command. It's just not exactly
translated that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are not to go.
Okay, what's the vocabulary form?
Go.
Be.
To go.
To go. Okay. Very good. All right. Adam? Oh, Adam's not here. Colby.
Do you want me to work on?
That's okay. We need to do verse 18 now. Well, Vatomer, Shavi, BT, Ad, Asher, Tadi, Ek, Yapol, Davar, Ki, Lo, Yishkot, Ha'ish, Ki, Im, Kila, Hadavar, Hayom. All right, let's just kind of do this together.
Ooh, can I do the first one?
Yep.
And she says.
And she said,
Yes.
okay, and then we get a little quotation. Okay. Shavi.
Shit.
Wait.
Okay.
But it's imperative.
Okay, it's an imperative from
Yesha. Or Yeshu.
Okay, what's the difference between Yeshav and Shuv?
One is different.
Isn't shuv to turn?
That's right. Shuv is to turn. Yeshav is to sit or dwell. Okay. So this is an imperative. So here we have a simple cal imperative Well, it's not too simple because it's missing a root letter, right?
Two FS.
Yashav, but that kind of gets lopped off. Remember the yod, the whole performative thing gets lopped off. So you have a 2FS imperative. Cal imperative 2FS from Yashav to sit or dwell. So she said, sit.
During until.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
My daughter.
You want us to keep the one as a group?
Mm-hmm.
During until.
Okay, so oughta share is kind of an idiomatic thing you see. We've seen it before in Ruth. I believe oughta share means until, basically. Until that which, blah, blah, blah. But in English, best sit until. So you really don't translate the share in good English here. Right? So she said, sit, my daughter, until Te'ein.
That's a paragogic mute, right?
Yep. So yikto, tikto, tikto, tiktily. That's our form here.
And that's from Yada.
Uh-huh.
Go down.
No.
Oh no.
Yada, no.
You had to help because it is his.
That's funny.
So it's counted perfect.
Okay, so sit here until you know. How. Now, Yipol.
Fall.
Okay, fall. Good. Now, what's it from then?
Not fall.
Nafal. Where's the noon?
It translated or
Is it the doggy?
It's the doggish in the pay.
what do you call it? Not translated.
Assimilated.
That's what happens
The
when you
imperative.
Assimilated.
To the imperfect.
Well, and what happens when you are in class, and it's kind of like going to heaven when you translate. What's good?
Since we're in heaven, it'll all be translated for us. There'll be parsing guides all over the place.
You think?
It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, but how do you get
I'm not totally sure of that. I think we'll all be trying to learn Hebrew in heaven.
Lamad.
well, how do you get the words up? Well,
Huh?
Lamad.
how do you get the words up?
What about Aramaic? Well, we speak Aramaic. That's what words go.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yepol is from Nafal, right? How would you parse Yepol?
Yiktol.
Okay, it's just a Yiktol form. Okay, so until you know how davar, what is that? Word
or matter.
or matter or thing,
Oh, that's right.
how the matter falls. A little bit idiomatic too, right? Until how this comes out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? So you know how the matter falls,
Mm-hmm.
the issue falls.
You know what the problem is?
What?
No.
What do you?
You know what the problem is, right? So that
Oh.
falls. You won't understand it.
Well, not till you know what the problem is, until you know what the solution is.
What's the answer of that redeemer?
Yes, sit and don't go bug. In other words, don't go bug Boaz until we know how this is going to come out, right? Because Ruth is going to be very impatient, and so is Naomi. Are we going to be able to eat? Are we going to be able to live? Are we going to be redeemed? So Naomi says, just
Play it cool.
sit, my daughter, until you know how the matter falls. Because, lo, yishkot, ha'ish. Well, I'm going to think that ha'ish is the subject because the man, and he's not going to do something, lo, the man will not yishkot.
I think that one is.
He will not be quiet. That's right. Because the man will not be quiet, ki'im, that's idiomatic as well. And you can look up those two words together, ki'im. Yeah, except or until in this context.
Or less.
For unless the man will not keep quiet until or unless or except Kilah Hadavar Hayom. Now, this is somewhat related to the word kol. Kilah, kol means all or every, and this word kilah means to be finished, right? Until, and here again, davar, here, until the matter is finished, hayom, today. Now, let's parse kilah.
That one is really kind of a tricky one. I believe it's a PL.
It is a PL. Why is that tricky?
Because it's not a cow.
No, okay. I got you. All right.
And there's double doggies.
Yeah, okay.
Is the first one because it's a godly pot?
Yeah. So, that is good. All right, so PL what? Well, again, even though it comes later in the parsing, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what's it from?
Finish Kalah.
Yeah,
So actually the parsing is probably just fine. Probably a PL 3MS, the PL strong 3MS. Finish.
That's right. But what's the tense?
PL. So he completely. He was all done.
Yeah. Well, and the concept of something being finished is kind of an intensified concept anyway. But maybe it's even more intensified. We'll look it up and get a little bit more information. But we still don't know what the tense is. PL perfect, right? Yeah, I think that was in your mind, but it just didn't come out.
Oh yeah, I thought you said it. But,
yeah. PL perfect 3MS from Kalah to finish. All right. Let's just look that up just to get a little bit of information, because when you have a PL, you're wondering, well, what is this occurring in the cow, and what does it mean in the cow, and what's happening? So. Yeah, it is in the cow, and so this is to finish in a completely smashed kind of way. I'm teasing about the smashed thing, but it's a more intensive, or you might say, until he puts it in a state of being finished.
Until he's done with it. Until
Until he's done with it.
What page is it on the holiday?
158.
Vacation.
No.
Okay, any questions on this so far? So now we complete chapter 3. We get on the last page of the book of Ruth. And so now we got to get serious, because the final is going to cover this last chapter of the book of Ruth. So in other words, I could ask you to translate any verse in this chapter. Or all verses.
Yeah, but you would.
But I'm not going to ask you all the verses. But I could ask you to translate anything in chapter 4. I could ask you to parse anything in chapter 4. Because, we know everything up to the final. We know all the forms. Right?
Before we forgot.
So that's going to be the translation and parsing for the final. Is going to be from chapter 4 of the book of Ruth. The vocabulary from all of this term from the textbook will be on the final. And whatever forms we've run could show up on the final. All right.
So by forms, you mean?
Well, I'm not going to, say, give me the perfect of the pool or something like that, because remember, we're not memorizing those paradigms.
More like, tell us, we should
I don't even
parse all different kinds of.
I don't even know if there are any.
In the pool?
Well, I'm just, in my mind, I can't remember exactly where we stopped and started the terms, but yeah, okay, so there's some Cal stuff that we had in the beginning, Cal imperative, the cohortative and jussive, pronominal suffixes on verbs, cal infinitive construct, cal infinitive absolute, cal participle like it asks you those forms. All right, well, let's take a little break here.